I didn't even realize he's only played 9 games this season so far. I mean, I know he missed time, obviously, with the suspension, but, he came back, he averaged 25 points a game, 8 assists. It certainly looked like that they was headed in the right direction to maybe get themselves in a nice playoff spot to contend. It's just all I can do is say, man, he done had a rough 12 months or so.
Rough.
Right? I mean, it's just rough one. In these situations, I think he'll come back healthy. I think he'll be fine. He'll have time to heal. He'll have time to think. He'll have time to get a lot of other things in order. And so it's just unfortunate that we don't get a chance to see him play the rest of the season. No. I mean, he's such a phenomenal young player.
Yeah.
I think it's devastating for not only the Grizzlies, but for the league. It's one of those situations. He came back, got player of the month right off the bat, came in ready to play, playing great basketball, elevating his team, doing everything that you expect, making statements almost every game. You saw him, in the clip dunk on Wembanyama.
He did.
That's more of a statement play. He was out there to prove a point. It's unfortunate that we won't get to see him play. I think it's devastating to the Grizzlies' chances to do anything special this season because obviously we saw how they looked the 25 games that he missed, and we saw how he looked when he came back and how different that entire team was. But like he said, it's been a tough 12 months for him. It's going to be a tough rehab process because you get so lost in your own head. When you know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's easier to get motivated and work hard and do all this. Because he knew 25 games, 26th game, I'm back out there. I'm doing my thing. Now that your season's over again, and you have to wait till next year, there's so much that can happen. So I hope that he has great people in his corner. I hope he has great people to talk to that call him, check on him, text him, because, it's a slippery slope. And when you fall into that dark place, especially with injuries, things can kind of spiral. So I hope he has good people around him.
Did this injury come from the wear and tear and the banging over time? Or did he fall? Because he is a smaller guy.
It's weird they said it was in a training session. I didn't know if that meant he was lifting weights or something. I don't know. It didn't sound like it was playing basketball to me. I don't know. But whatever. Richard and I were talking yesterday about Stephon Gilmore, and his shoulder popped out. And as Richard said, when that happens, you usually tear something because Richard's gone through it before. And I don't know, because he is a smaller man who reaches Iverson heights, when he goes up. He can just flat out, inch for inch, there's not a better leaper in the NBA than Ja. But what goes up must come down, and so you could be right. Maybe you have too many high flyer descents and to hit the hardwood, as they call it.
Yeah, and look, again, I don't know the extent of the injury and how it occurred, but I would just think that he's getting banged around because he is a smaller guy. It's not like he's walking around with the Dwight Howard shoulders.
No.
And so, this team will have an opportunity to now rethink their roster as they try to make a playoff push again. And if not, they can rethink their roster for next year when he comes back.
Sure.
I mean, that's just...
No, I got it.
That's really where it's at.
But what struck me about this is I was in awe of the impact this young man had on that basketball team as soon as he stepped back out onto the floor at New Orleans, and he's going head-to-head with the guy who was picked above him, Zion, obviously, in that draft. And he just took the game over in his first game back down the stretch. And you could just see his teammates, they just looked different because they've been horrible without him. They've been hapless and hopeless, and they just been another bad basketball team until he steps back on the floor, and all of a sudden they look like a playoff team to me. And they went 6-3 in those 9 games, but he just was like lightning striking that team in a great way, where all of a sudden you could just see the body language change of everybody around him. And then I was watching a game with my wife, Ernestine, the other night. I can't remember which game it was, but at the end of the game, it might have been a Laker game, but I can't remember. But it was Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. They did a joint interview at the end of the game, and they kind of leaned up against the scorer's table. And I commented...
Laker game.
It was the Laker game, right? And I commented to Ernestine, that was the best post-game interview Ja's ever given, because he really is right before you. He's growing up right before your very eyes, and he's been through a lot of stuff. We know about all the stuff off the court, but he is maturing. he's getting a hold of it. He's becoming the face of that franchise and the team leader. And he gave a great breakdown of the game, and it was insightful, and it was still entertaining because he's always entertaining. But you remember some of the interviews from playoffs past where he'd just go crazy after the game, and we're going to do this, and we got this, and we did this. And this was a maturing basketball player and a leader and a face of the NBA right before your very eyes. And then this happens.
Well, I think a couple months ago, they took it away from him.
They did. So, that's a great point. That's what happened.
When you miss something that you so deeply love, and you're missing 25 games, and you watching your teammates out on the floor, and you're at home or wherever you're at, you're thinking a lot. You're processing who you are. And so, yeah, you're going to grow naturally. That's just, if you have any sense at all, you're going to grow because you're looking at the reaction of what people are saying. You're seeing it, and you're saying to yourself, I got to make a change. I got to do things differently. And I think he did. I think when you talk about that game against Zion and coming back at the Pelicans, he let everybody know, I do got receipts. I understand what's out there, what people are saying about me, and I'm going to show y'all that I'm a different human being on and off the court.
And I think that's going to have to continue because this is, as you know, Keyshawn, this rehab process, especially after he just saw the light. You know what I mean? It's like getting a taste of food, being in the desert. You know, you're parched and you get a taste of some water, and then they snatch the water away from you and you're still in the desert. And so I think that this is going to be an important time for him to continue that growth, to continue that maturity, to continue to show that he's changed and that he's a better person. I think, again, he needs to be surrounded by good people. I know, Skip, you brought up the first game he came back, you know, how the crowd, his dad was there, his boys was there, and it looks like, he's the same crowd, but I would assume those guys understand the circumstances and understand ways to help him. So I just hope, I know it could get bad with this rehab process, and especially when you just came back and you felt a taste of your love and appreciation and your passion for the game. And have it snatched again.
Well, hopefully the team, Skip, will have the necessary people around doing his rehab. It will not be one of those rehabs where all of a sudden he goes off somewhere and he's going to be away from the team for an extended period of time while he's rehabbing because he has his own trainer and his own this and his own that. Right. It should all be within that organization so they can keep a close watch and eye, just like they did when the 25 games was taken away from him, or when he came back, he was around his team. Because what you don't want to do as a player that's injured is have him isolated. That's the worst thing that you could possibly do for an injured player is not have him be still part of the team. Because he can still lead, even though it's not the same type of leadership when you're playing on the court. But when you're in the building and people seeing you and you around, the type of person he is, he's got this aura about him. When he walks into a room, the room lights up. It does. So your team can still use a little bit of that at times.
That's true. The only silver lining to this injury, at least it's not his legs. At least it's not a knee. It's not an Achilles. It's not a broken leg. It's not something that could affect him long term, as in career threatening, that you would think that a labrum, you could fix it and it will be as close as you can get to 100% going forward. It is his right arm, obviously his shooting arm.
That's what I was just literally thinking. I wonder which arm it is.
It's his right. But you would hope that it won't impact him at all going forward, the way some lower leg or knee issue could, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it won't affect his explosiveness and all that. Yeah, you're right, Skip. That would be way more devastating and way more concerning.
Yeah. My final thought on this, and you guys weigh in if you like, but I don't want to get too mystical or spiritual here, but every time injuries like this happen, I just say, why did that happen? How do you explain, as you guys know, you played a very violent game, but they just happened weirdly, inexplicably, and you can't explain it. You just have to deal with it.
Some things are wear and tear on your body. It just depends on, like I said, I don't know the nature of the injury and how it occurred, but in the end, he's a smaller guy. He jumps out the gym.
He does.
And he bangs up against people. People think basketball is a soft situation. It's not. Basketball is rough, man. In that paint, that stuff gets real dicey, and so he's a guy who goes to the cup a lot. So you can see where he can get banged up in these situations. And so the great thing, like you said, is it's not his legs.
No.
It's his shooting arm. But here's what I would say. I can guarantee you when he comes back, though, somebody go catch one of them dunks just to show you that I'm healthy.
Yeah. Well,
He'll have a lot behind it.
he got Wemby. So we wish you well, John. We're going to miss you. Up next, Aaron Rodgers, here we go again, causes another distraction by saying the Jets should flush the distraction. Huh?
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.